For this episode of The A-List, I had the opportunity to sit down with Mr. Saul Lurie, a survivor of the Holocaust. Tonight, he'll share his harrowing story of the 4 years he spent in 6 Nazi concentration camps during his youth. What he describes is undoubtedly difficult to listen to, but his message is one that we all need to hear. So please, watch with your children. Start a discussion about the lessons they can take from this horrific part of our history. As Mr. Lurie says, they may not be able to do anything about the past, but they can do something about the future. Mr. Lurie, welcome to the A-List.
It's my honor being here.
Well, we're so happy that you're in Chattanooga and very honored that we get to speak to you and hear your story. Tell me about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Kovno, Lithuania on April 11, 1930. My father was in the lumber business with his brothers, also my grandfather. And we had a good life, nice house. We had a maid for the house, we had a maid to take care. We were 4 brothers. And we had a maid taking care of the kids. Life was wonderful. I never noticed anti-Semitism. I used to have non-Jewish friends, and everything was nice, no problem. Then when Hitler started to come in power, little things started to change. The Lithuanians already showed a little anti-Semitism. Then in 1940, the Germans attacked Poland, and they made an agreement with the Russians that they're going to take over the Baltic states. In 1940, the Soviet Union came into Lithuania. And when the Russians came in, the Lithuanians couldn't show their anti-Semitism, because if not, the communists took care of them. So it quieted down a little. But there were underground people working there for anti-Semites. They were called the partisans.
So the communists protected the Jews at this point?
Yeah.
And prevented the anti-Semitism?
Yeah. But anti-Semitism was there, but they couldn't show it.
Just more underground, through the partisans?
They were protecting.
Okay.
And everything was going okay till June 22nd, 1941. The life changed completely. So I never forget it, Sunday. All of a sudden we had bombs exploding. And Germany attacked the Soviet Union. So my father and his brothers decided, we're not going to stay in Lithuania, we're going to go back, going deeper to the Soviet Union. So we took some horses in a wagon. We were going on the road. The German planes were bombing the roads and shooting at the people. Every time we saw planes coming, we had to jump off the wagons into ditches. People were getting killed already. And the whole day was going on. And at night, when it got dark, my father decided we're going to stop in our town, and next day we're going to continue. And next morning when we got up, the Germans were there already. Okay? And meanwhile, the Lithuanians were killing the Jews already, rounding up some Jews and killing them. And the Germans decided to protect us a little from the Lithuanians. They said all Jews had to assemble in a synagogue in the town. And about 600 people came into the synagogue. We stayed over there. And then about 6 days or so later, the Germans gave an order that all Jews not from this town have to go back where they came from. So we came out from the synagogue, the possessions that we had. The wagon was there, but the horses were gone. So my father and my 3 brothers were pulling the wagon themselves. And while we were pulling the wagon, a German soldier stopped us. So he stopped and says, "What happened to your horses?" And my father told him, somebody stole them. He said, "Okay, you wait here, I'll be back." About 15, 20 minutes later, the man came back, soldier came back with 2 horses. And he says, you use them. And he says, don't go on the road where you're going, because the Lithuanians, the partisans, are stopping all the Jews, taking everything away from them, and killing everybody. You go on the road where the German soldiers are coming down, and nobody's going to bother you. And that's what we did. We went on that road, nobody bothered us. We found out later, after we came back, that whoever went on the road where the German soldiers stopped us from going, because everything was taken away from them, they were all killed.
It was the first of many times that the young Saul Lurie would narrowly escape death. Upon the family's return to Kovno, they found their home burglarized and occupied by Lithuanians. With nowhere to go, they took up residence in the horses' stables and began to realize the new order that had arrived with the German occupation. Jews were commanded to wear the Star of David, a symbol that would easily identify them for the barrage of humiliation, torture, and mass murder that was soon to follow.
And also Germans also gave an order that all the Jews had to have a curfew. They could only be in the street from 6 in the morning till late in the evening. Also, you couldn't walk on the sidewalk. You only had to walk in the gutter. And a lot of them wanted, if you passed by with Germans, you had to bow to them because they were the kings. I'll never forget, we're walking in the street, and with my cousin and some of my other from the family, and with some German soldiers passed by. We bowed. My cousin didn't bow enough. The Germans got mad. He came over to them with the butts of the rifles, and they beat them to death. That's the first killing I saw with my own eyes.
How old were you?
At that time, in 1941, I was 11 years old. Meanwhile, the Lithuanians were having a ball in Kovno. See, Kovno, Lithuania is a small country, 2.5 million people. 10% of the population was Jewish. Almost about 250,000 Jews. And the Germans decided that the Jews had to go into a ghetto because we're animals, so we're not supposed to be wild animals. We couldn't live in the street, in the city. So they so we said we should go in a cage, like. That's how they made. That's my interpretation. The ghetto, and they made a ghetto in Slobodka. It was called. It's the outskirts of Kovno, on the other side of the river. Very poor area. There was no running water. The only thing they had was well water. No bathrooms. The bathrooms were outside, outhouses. Okay? And it was very old section, very poor section. And the Germans said the Jews had to move there.
When you talk about this ghetto, about how many people were living in what size area?
In the ghetto?
Yes.
In the ghetto, they put in about 48,000 people in a 2 square mile area. And they used to bring other people in too from different areas. So it was too small. Decided they're going to make a small ghetto too. So on the other side of there was a main road going through. So they built a bridge over, and they put a small ghetto. They had about 15,000 people in the small ghetto. And they put a barbed wire fences all around the ghetto, put guard towers all around